Welcome to Life List, a birding podcast.
Hey everybody, this is Alvaro with Life List, a birding podcast. And today I am George, but we do have Molly Brown here and George Armistead with us. And how are you guys doing?
Good, man.
Doing good.
You do a good George. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I
You're
mean,
getting some practice.
I know. In the episode I did myself, I actually pretended to be you for a bit. So.
Yeah. That's as far as I've gotten the editing so far. Is you pretending to be George.
Oh wow! I can't wait to hear this.
It's not even me. It's not even a good pretend, but I just
For some reason, I'm hearing like Dr. Nick's voice from The Simpsons, while you like pretending to be me. I don't know why.
I know. I don't know why. That's interesting.
Hey everybody.
Yeah, I know. Hey. But boy, we're later going to talk about what I've been up to because I just arrived in the country seemingly hours ago. You know, I slept for a few hours, but
you look bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, though, Al. I'm
know,
impressed
because it's it's probably late afternoon in my head right now, rather than 9 in the morning or 8:30 in the morning. But it's what you guys been doing? What's going on?
Well, we were both saying that we've both been hunkered down a little bit. Winter weather's been hitting this way a good bit, so that's affects a lot. But George, you said it's been pretty nasty over there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of as many people know, I'm kind of really a cranky old man, and I've been that way since I was about 18 years old.
That's why you're so good at it. You've been practicing.
I got to say, I'm really settling into it now. Like I'm really, getting into it. I'm starting to really, own it. So like I love the snow. Like freshly fallen snow is wonderful. Like as it's happening, it's so quiet. It's so quiet. The snow just like tamps down all the sounds, and it just is so quiet and beautiful after it's fallen. But within hours after it's done, it just becomes a pain, man. And it's just like, you can't really get around easily. You got to shovel the walk. There's salt you're tracking into the house. Now, the dog loves it. And he, every day he goes out there first thing, rolls around in it. But yeah, I mean, it is nice. It's the first snowfall we've had here really in 2 years since I blocked in my neighbor that time when we moved into this house. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
First time since then. And it's, it's a big snowfall. It was beautiful, but it's like at this point, it's keeping me indoors mostly. There's been some nice goose flights going over most, Canada's, and a lot of birds at the feeders, which is nice. But I really haven't got out much. I'm heading out on Friday for India. And, you guys know how it is. The few days, the week before a tour is kind of always the most stressful time, but before a big trip. Because you're just like trying to get everything done. And it gets to the point where it's just when you get on the plane, you're like, okay, whether it's done or not, I'm going now. That's it. Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of looking forward to getting to that point because I've just been kind of cranking and trying to get everything in order beforehand. So yeah, I haven't really been doing much aside from a little bit of yard birding. How about you, Molly?
Yeah, I've got 2 weeks before I take off. But I've kind of switched up my travel pattern, or it's just so happened to be that, because typically I take fairly short trips and they're pretty evenly spaced, really. But I've had this long gap, really, besides coming over to Maryland for that pelagic. I haven't been outside of West Virginia much the past couple months. But in a couple weeks, I'm heading out to Columbia for the Hill Star tour, and I'm staying for like a month-ish. So I'm still working on those plans. Yeah, I'm excited. That's the longest trip I'll have ever taken. So I feel like I still have a lot of time, but I know that the week before I'll be scrambling just like that.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome, though.
Yeah, but I guess I am also a little stir crazy. We've had a lot of snow too, and it's been really cold, teens, and lower. So I've been out some, and lakes are frozen, waterfowl have been on the river here, so that's been nice just to do some birding and get out. And I've actually done a decent amount of hiking in the snow and stuff. But a couple things came together, and today I'm scrambling in a short version because after we get done recording, I'm taking off to drive to Florida to head down. Yeah, so a couple things came together. One, a friend who's a client that I do work for Nighthawk, I have his booth materials, and he texted me on Friday and said, hey, can you ship those to Florida? And I was like, oh no, it's a whole like backdrop setup. It's going to be really expensive. So that kind of got my gears turning. I debated on going down during the Space Coast Festival anyway, and I just wasn't because it's right before I'm taking off for more travel. But I'm a little stir crazy too, and it's been cold for a while. But what really pushed me over is because here at the Avian Rehab Center, the ACCA, there's been a least bittern that's been around for about 3 weeks in ACCA's care. It's like there's no county records for least bittern here or anything, but it was found along the road in sort of a residential area in just there's a tiny little like cattail marsh right there, and it was found right around Christmas time
in West Virginia,
in Morgantown, West Virginia. Yeah,
wow, that's wild.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. So I guess somebody thought it was an owl, which if it's crumpled up along the road, I mean, it
right.
would
Or
look
if it's
like
looking
that.
right at you, you can kind of get that binocular view. But yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So it was found, it was picked up, brought in. It had like minor soft tissue damage and otherwise was just really underfed. So had a very guarded prognosis, but surprisingly has done extremely well. If you look up Avian Conservation Center of Appalachia, you can see videos of it eating minnows.
Yeah, I've been seeing those posts on
So
Instagram.
Cool.
Yeah,
it's doing fantastic. It's gained a ton of weight. So I asked Katie, who runs it, and her husband Jesse, who's the vet there, if they thought it would be releasable if it were taken to a suitable habitat for the winter, because otherwise it's just got to be kept here until April.
That's long haul.
A lot of minnows every day. Yeah, it's tough. You know, there are broad-winged hawks and things like that end up having to winter here. There's a yellow warbler that was getting really close to, being able to be released before it would be too late for it to reasonably be out around here. But they said, yep, they flight tested it, did the full exam to make sure everything was okay to be releasable. So I'm grabbing it this afternoon.
Do they have a wind tunnel where they flight test these birds?
No, that'd be nice. ACCA is not there yet. But
maybe Alvaro, you want to make a donation, and it could be the Alvaro Jaramillo wind tunnel.
Yeah.
Food for thought.
Like an eponym, eh?
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Actually, just get us a Modus tower, please.
Yeah.
But no, that would be really
Maybe
cool.
we get the city of Chicago to, promote a wind tunnel. I was like,
Windy City.
Kind of makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah. How do you know at least bitterns gain weight? Like, they always look skinny. To me, it's like, it's sort of like one of those birds that just is kind of skinny looking. I guess you got to look and see if there's a little meat on the bones there.
Check those fat deposits.
Yeah.
This isn't related to its weight, but you should also look at the x-rays of it. It's really, really cool. There's one of its neck all curled up and one of it fully extended.
Oh, wow.
It's awesome.
It's like all neck.
Yeah. So, so it's going, and we're just driving overnight so that we're releasing it like first thing in the morning, trying to minimize stress, keeping it dark in the car, and they're diurnal, so when it should be sleeping.
That's a good part of the world for least bitterns down there. Probably the most I've seen is in winter down in Florida and some of those wetland spots. So hopefully he'll be in a spot where she will be in a spot where it is very happy catching lots of other things.
I've been looking at reports and stuff, so there are plenty there. That's where I got my lifer too.
Huh. Nice. Now, least bitterns, we don't get too many down here, but over here, but they're around. But I did want to say, like, you guys are like talking about winter and the cold and so forth. One of the things that came to mind is that here, independently, a lot of people, like multiple people who are not necessarily like super huge birders, but even a lot of backyard birders have been saying that they have fewer birds at the feeders than ever before.
My
And
father's been saying that here this winter as well.
Yeah, and I was thinking that's really weird because I am getting fewer sparrows than I usually do. And other people were talking about various other species, and I thought maybe it just hasn't been cold enough farther north. And there's just a lot of food farther north, and they just didn't come down, like they're just up there. And then I don't know. We'll see what happens next year. But I did think that this would be a really great eBird. Like if you could just take the data out from eBird on some key species that are backyard birds and see what the numbers are this year.
That would be interesting,
per hour or whatever of observation. But the fact that multiple people independently said it is kind of weird.
Yeah. When's the Great Backyard Bird Count?
February coming up.
Soon, right? Like first or second week of February. So
that'll be interesting. I wonder if it's real or if it's just, one of those
The Great Backyard
things
Bird Count?
No, I mean this potential fewer birds here. Where are they? Kind of scenario. Because you can wrap your mind thinking something is true because you hear it, and then you sort of everything that confirms that you kind of see rather than everything that doesn't confirm it, So anyway, what we should talk about? Something brand new that we're doing that we've been kind of planning for a while.
Juicy.
And why don't you guys tell the folks about the newsletter?
Sure, yeah.
This newsletter.
Yeah, I hope folks will check this out. There is a link on the homepage for Lifeless Birding Podcast, and also you can, if you go to media on the Hillstar Nature site, you'll see there's a tab there where you can check it out and sign up. We just had our first one go out week before last, and yeah, the idea is to kind of have a nice mix of things we think are interesting, events, articles. We have a section called Headlines from Around the World in our first one that has a link to an article on how fairy wrens teach their babies to sing before they're hatched. And we talk about there's a whole bunch of different things here. There's updates on finalizing the listing of black-capped petrel as an endangered species, which happened fairly recently. We always include a little bird quiz for the trivia folks. So if you have trivia, please also send it along. We could use some good bird trivia questions. I love that stuff, as we've talked about before. And our friend Eric Bonesley is the one who is compiling the info, but if you send it to our email address on our site, it'll get to Eric. And then we have some just general articles on stuff we think is cool. There'll be some personal stuff for Molly, Alvaro, and I in there as well. It's short. It's not a big long read. It's basically sort of a digest of stuff we think is interesting and fun. And then, of course, there's info on some of the tours that we're associated with. So, it's new. We're looking for feedback on this, and but we'd really like to encourage folks to sign up and get that. And we're testing it out here, seeing how it goes. It comes out every 2 weeks, so it's not something that's going to fill up your inbox like crazy. It's basically twice a month.
The idea is sort of to have something that is fun, entertaining, and informative, that is related to some of the stuff we talk about, but also completely brand new info that is out there in print form that we can sort of like curate for you, so that it gets, like George said, at what we're interested in and what we think would be kind of fun to mention that we aren't necessarily going to always mention on the podcast, because as everybody knows, we always run out of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, often run over time. Yeah,
Oh boy.
I'm glad that you pointed out that Eric is putting it together because so that there's input for each of us and then other things that Eric has found too that's relevant for the podcast because he's an avid listener. And the last one that came through the inbox, I quickly clicked through it and I was like, oh, that's actually pretty interesting. I hadn't seen that. There's a lot in there that I hadn't seen before.
Yeah, me too.
So it's a fun newsletter. I'm quite happy for it. I haven't seen another newsletter like it in the birding community.
It's become my favorite newsletter.
Wow. Wow, that's big. That's big talk there. High praise.
Yeah. High praise. Talk about anyway. The other thing we should talk about is a couple of things, right? Kowa Sports Optics, our friends, they are supporting us, and as we're growing, trying to do new things. Also, we are hearing they will be changing some of. We're going to give you some updates on this, but their social media stuff is changing, from what I understand, to a more U.S. based group. Is that kind of, Molly, what you were hearing?
Yep. That's the plan. So, and it's actually just launched on social media. So there is a new U.S. based account for all of the U.S. Kowa content. So Kowa is
probably
worldwide.
Includes Canada too, right? But yeah,
it probably includes Canada too.
Does,
North American, we'll say.
Yeah.
So the Kowa team is kind of spaced throughout Europe, North America, and Asia even. A lot of the factories are in Japan, or maybe all of the factories. So the whole crew that's basically putting together content is spread out everywhere. And now there's going to be a North American section of that. But a new website's coming too, and will be up in the next couple weeks, or I think maybe beginning of March.
That's good. I'm still so happy with my little scope that I went from the big guy to the smaller one, and oh man, I don't miss I gotta say, for a travel scope, it's amazing. The
tough to beat,
great.
Yeah,
and I don't ever feel like I'm missing out from not having the big guy, which was awesome to have when you're in a car or whatever, and you're just driving places, but not so awesome when you're on a plane.
Yeah.
Totally.
I think, Molly, you posted someplace recently. You're like, my optics keep getting smaller and better, and that's exactly the way I feel. It's like I've got some. My gear is much more packable, much lighter, and just better all the time. And that scope, the little 65 millimeter or 66, is really good.
Yeah, I finally got a carbon fiber tripod, because the scope is so much easier to take around too. And I'm really, really excited to have that, and trying to break it in now before I get down to the tropics. So it's nice. Yeah, I use the 33 binoculars too, and am super happy with them. Another thing I wanted to mention, I'm curious, do you all have compact binoculars that you use?
I would like to get some, just for when, the car, and sometimes I go on hikes and I don't want to carry my main binoculars, but I like to ruck a little bit, which is rucking with weights. Yeah. And I don't want to carry my main binoculars, but I'd love to have a small pair.
What is rucking?
Rucksacking. And it's it's ruck. So you carry weights in a backpack, and it's, it turns a hike into actually more exercise. So I don't really like going to a gym, so rucking.
What do you take a bunch of kindling and stuff, logs and stuff on your head, a lot of people when you're out in Colombia and stuff, Guatemala, you see people going up hillsides, with all
some
this
poles
stuff on their head. You should do that. Maybe it also strengthens your neck and helps out on your workout there.
Yeah.
Just pile all your old optics in there that are
there you go.
Bigger.
And we could give
I'm
it
not
a
sure.
cool
I feel
name.
I feel like I don't have the right head shape, I feel like, but it'd be worth a shot. Or I could get one of those little, they get those little round, it's like a padded ring that goes around their head that helps them carry this stuff sometimes.
I'm sure the folks that, the women in India are saying, you know, Mom, I don't think I want to go and get all this stuff because my head is just not quite the right shape. And it's like, I know you got to go get the water. You got to
Are you
go.
saying? Are you saying my head shape? You're saying my head shape is a first world problem? Is that what you're saying, Al?
I think, yeah, you're being insensitive to the fact that you have the choice to say your head shape is wrong.
Perhaps true. Perhaps true. But to answer your question, Molly, no, I do not have a compacts, and I would really like to get a pair, or like a good monocular that like just fits in the pocket, you know, or like a keychain monocular that's pretty good. Yeah. It's hard to find.
Or two monoculars glued together.
Two monoculars. That's a great idea. Yes.
Yeah. With a little focusing thing in the middle.
Oh. Patent that. Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah.
You know, where other great ideas are going to be seen and heard about, guys, on another new thing we're doing. Patreon. You guys heard of this out there in internet land? Well, we are joining the gang that is going to have different tiers of membership for our listeners in case you wanted extra stuff. And things like, how we invented the binocular just now, we're going to do all sorts of stuff there. Little kind of, I would call them audio articles, vignettes, and also material that people request, perhaps, that the Patreons request. I want to drill deeper, into certain topics and so forth. And I think any cool ideas that you might have would be wonderful. But we have it set up behind the scenes, right? Molly's been working on that, and I think we're going to start opening it up pretty soon, right?
Yeah, it's open as of this release. But yeah, one thing that I'm really excited about. So some of the stuff that we'll put on there are like the little stories that we have that are kind of too short for an episode, that sort of thing. But
yeah,
we think they're worth telling. But we've all talked about doing some behind the scenes stuff, particularly when we're on tours and like when we're scouting, or the things that happen when you're not with the group or when you're with the group, and putting all of that in. And I think that's going to be really fun. So we'll each be doing some of our recordings on that. So we'll have like interviews, I think, and some group things that maybe discuss something different too. But we're each going to put some of our own stories into the Patreon. So
and a lot of short and sweet
bonus
things.
Content. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Just little like mini episodes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited about it as well. I think it may not quite have the studio sound that we have here, but it'll be really different kind of material. A lot of folks have asked us, about having more material while we're traveling, while we're in the field. That's been something that's come up in the mail. I think it'd be fun to do that. It's often, we've talked about, it's hard to do much that's really, really organized while you're traveling on tour, especially because often, you're up at 4 or 5 in the morning, and then you're not done till 9, 10, 11 at night, and you're on the go pretty much the whole time. Typically there is ambient noise, or you're focused on finding birds and trying to get people on those birds. So it can be tough. But I think little vignettes where we're talking about what we're seeing and experiencing, could be good windows into those locations, and with some good information about those critters and birds. So that'll be fun to talk about.
And on my tours, at least, and I know probably your tours as well, there's also cocktail hour, and that does take some time away from, where one could be recording.
This is true.
And sometimes that provides content for.
It does. Yeah. Sometimes content that probably shouldn't even be aired, but yes, nonetheless.
Right. No, I do think it's great to think about having a venue, right, where we could just sort of, something happens on a trip, good or bad, funny or whatever, where you could just like almost pick up the mic, record it, and go, what happened today? Just let me tell you, and then almost like a little story, and then throw it on there. I think that'd be really great, because you just cannot come up with that spontaneity when you're 3 weeks later after the tour's done and so forth, and you ask, what happened on your tour, and you just are it's kind of past. The moment is past. So capturing some of those moments would be really a cool thing to try. We'll see if it works.
Yeah, it's different. I feel like afterwards, sometimes you can have perspective that you might not have in the moment, which can be useful. Right. But like the thrill of the moment is not usually. It's hard, as you say. You can't really recapture that. So hopefully, we'll get some of that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, like the time we had 6 different tires blow out on a Bolivia trip about 15, 20 years ago when I think it was a Field Guides trip back in the day. I mean, it's the kind of thing that during the day, if I could have recorded what I was thinking at the end of that day,
that would be really funny.
Really, really awesome to have that perspective. Because right now it's just a funny story. At the time, not so funny.
Yeah, it's true.
Not so funny.
I mean, yeah.
Let me ask you guys this. I think there's maybe you must be different than me in this. I am so wound up the whole time I'm on a tour and guiding a tour. Like I am just bursting. I guess I'm a pretty energetic person anyway, but like that's just to a whole nother level. Like the adrenaline just runs constantly. And I feel like this will be a good outlet for me at the end of the day to like, you know, get it out of like the excitement that I've had. And yeah. Do you feel like that? I think you all are probably a lot calmer than I am on tours.
I think I am in a way. I wouldn't say the opposite, but I am like a wound up, crazy, you know, working like a machine in between tours, getting things ready and whatever. And when I get on the tour, it's as if like I'm on stage and, you know, sort of the lights come on and everything calms. Like I'm suddenly doing what I'm supposed to do. And I'm not doing the stuff that I worry about as much. It's weird. I worry less on tour than I do before or after the tour.
Absolutely.
I totally relate to that.
Yeah. I'm often, some days I'm really just excited about something that's going on. It's like it flows, but I feel like I love the structure of a tour, the way that, you know, you have these like very, very rigid things that have to happen. You know, we have to be at this hotel by this point in time. We have to go and look at this park for a few hours, and we need to hopefully see this. And I love that whole almost like storyline. And I feel like as it's going along, there's a point in time where 3/4 of the trip is done. I'm like, oh my God, like it's happened. It's happened. Like things have gone. And I wouldn't say necessarily always smoothly, but the tour as a story has happened. And I feel really this euphoria often at about 3/4 of the trip, where I'm like, even if things go kind of a little squirrely at the end, we've done all this, we've succeeded, you know, and I get that level of, it's a weird thing for me, tours. Yeah. But I do kind of calm down when I'm on tour, as if other things that are in my life are not necessarily gone, but I almost like, you know, I squirrel them away in a different part of my brain. Well, I can't do that when I'm at home or in between tours.
Yeah.
So my brain's going full nonstop.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good question, Molly. I think for me, while I'm on tour, I try to maintain sort of a baseline, you know, calm, let's keep it loose, let's keep it fun, and roll with the punches, because there's always something unexpected that happens. And I think most of the people that travel with me see that and recognize that. And so, you know, when stuff goes wrong, hopefully I don't fall too far below that baseline. But I think something that's a little unfortunate sometimes is that when really good stuff happens, is that I don't necessarily get as high up off of that baseline. Now, there's exceptions to that, like a really good, you know, wildlife sighting, you know, super unexpected bird, or just mind-blowing experience with the bird. You know, that's a high that you can ride for days. And like I felt like that after that pelagic you and I did. Like for days afterwards, I was just like, I was riding that, you know, and like, you know, Kristen here could tell, and talking to my dad, he could tell how, just juiced I was, so there are days that really, lift you and just propel you in a emotionally different way. And I think there's no hiding that. And, for me at least. So it depends, like hopefully everything's, kind of going, normal and good and progressing and you're seeing what you want to see. But then, unexpected stuff can happen that's not necessarily great or really amazing. And that'll change stuff as might be expected.
And I think too, like the crowd, the folks you're with have such an influence. Like it's like this give and take.
Yes.
Almost like
group energy. Yeah.
Group energy where you're guiding the group energy and they're guiding you. And if it kind of flows nicely, that's great. And sometimes it can be off, right? Like, there's some situation or something. And then I kind of kick into sort of like how to manage almost the group dynamic to get it back to that balance. And then that's something too that if I can feel like I've averted some level of
discord,
I get a little euphoric feel after that, like how much, oh gosh, I really kind of did my job there, because it's not about
the experience,
cleaning out birds all the time, right? I mean,
the whole
you're
experience.
almost there as a little kind of, I don't know.
I would say football coach. You're like football coach, janitor, shepherd, barkeep. It's a lot of different roles. Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, it kind of feels like a puzzle to me, but it's more open ended. It's not like you've done your job or you're not. You're like, you can always kind of take it up another notch, in one way or another, in making that dynamic work. Yeah, when I get with a group of people like that, and the tour starts, I really do think to myself, like, I can be as excited and thrilled and passionate and happy about everything we see and just thankful to be here and like let that all show, and the group is just going to feed off of it. And that is such an incredible feeling to me.
I think
it's true.
Yeah. And that's part of our job as guides, is to be like, hey, look, this is different and extraordinary. Like, and because they know we see a fair amount of stuff. And so
this doesn't happen every day.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I did get that a couple of times on this last trip, where people say, "Oh, I love it when the guys get really excited, because it's something really different or cool or something."
Yeah. That moment that you talked about.
Oh, yeah. Which one?
Yeah, the moment like 3/4 of the way through.
Yeah.
To me, I love that first group dinner when we kind of do the introductions. Everyone's a little like stiff and maybe a little awkward and kind of feeling each other out. And then at some point you're all sitting together at a meal and you're all like, the whole table's chatting and everyone's talking about these shared experiences they've had, or just like getting excited and like being comfortable with each other. And I love that moment. You're like, yep, this is our family right now. And this is, we've settled in.
Yeah, the volume at the dinner table, like, from comparing day 1 to like day 4 is always, it's fun and interesting to observe. Yeah.
One thing that's actually been really cool recently in the last, I guess, year or so that we've been doing, it's like a little WhatsApp group for each tour. That first, is a little bit about like exchanging information, what's going to happen, did everybody arrive okay? But as soon as the tour gets going, first it's people asking like, what was breakfast time again? Then little by little, it's like sharing photos. And by the end of it, it's just all photos and the good times. Like you could almost read the WhatsApp group and see the storyline of the tour happen. And we kind of didn't have anything quite like that before, that really sort of encompassed the almost like timeline of the trip and how people felt about it. So it's kind of a neat thing.
That's a good point.
Hey guys, speaking of tours, what is coming up for both of you in the next while in terms of tours? Molly?
So I'm headed back. We're actually kind of repeating what we did for the Lifeless tour, as a Hillstar tour in a couple weeks in Colombia. So that's Central Andes. It's starting and kind of working our way up into the Paramo. So getting up into I don't know, 12,000 feet or so.
Mhm.
It's such a fun tour. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
In case I haven't said that enough in this episode
You're gonna
already.
you're gonna feed little hummingbirds from your hand?
I
Is that
imagine
spot?
there is a good chance that will happen.
Maybe some big
Uh,
hummingbirds too.
Big
yeah,
hummingbirds.
some
Yeah, I
big
Great
remember that
brown
sapphire
spot.
wings.
hummingbirds.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Lots of ant pittas. Just like it's just a fun, very very blissful tour. After that, like I said, I'll be in Colombia until mid-March. Just doing some personal travel, going to Columbia Bird Fair, scouting for future tours, all of that good stuff. Meeting up with a lot of friends, and man, it's a lot of work to figure out logistics for something like that.
Yeah.
But it's really fun too. And then I'm home for a few weeks before Cuba in April for
Yeah.
Alvaro's Adventures. So those are my next two.
Cool.
Yeah.
What do you got, George? What do you got coming up?
Yeah, got a bunch of stuff, you know. I'm excited about our Tanzania trip that's coming up in 2025. We only have one spot left, but I know all the folks that have registered, and it's a really good bunch. So there's one more spot left for that. I'm excited to be going back there. It's what I call the ultimate safari. I think probably most folks that follow my social media have seen some of the imagery, and it's a great tour for birders, but also for people that just want to do a nice mix of birds and wildlife. You know, the big game. It's, you know, iconic spots, the Serengeti and the Ngorongoro Crater and Tarangire National Park. It's a nice loop in northern Tanzania where you're basically birding and looking for mammals the whole time. Even like on the travel days, like between spots, you're just kind of you don't notice that you're traveling as much because you're birding and seeing, you know, huge numbers of mammals the whole time. So just to give people an idea, like last time we had over 400 species of birds while spending lots and lots of time looking at mammals. I think we had a 2-day stretch where we had something like 60 lions. You know, so it's really an amazing trip. I'm excited about that. I'm excited for our Alaska trip that's coming up. There's one spot left on the Outposts trip, which goes to St. Paul and to Nome. Nome, arguably my favorite spot in Alaska. So I'm excited about that. Also, I got a new trip I'm about to release in January of 2025 to Eastern Colombia, to a part that not many people go to. I went there during the pandemic, actually, in March of 2021, kind of as travel was just starting to open up again, barely, really. I wasn't even vaccinated at the time. I think we did a pod talking about it a little bit, but it's to these white sand forests. It's kind of an area of confluence where a bunch of different influences come together. They call it the fluvial star of Colombia because there's kind of multiple rivers that all come together, and most notably the Orinoco River. So you know you're really far east there. And there's all these white sand birds and really range restricted birds. It's a lot of birding on foot or birding by motorized canoe. So that's different than a lot of other trips, right? We fly to the spot, we spend 6 nights all at the same location, and then it's just day trips from there, all either working on foot or by motorized canoe. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Is this why you're rucking to get up that hill, the big old hill that you told you last time?
You know, that is a serious hike that we did last time, and I doubt I'm in better shape now than I was then. That also,
more rucking.
Yeah, some more rucking, I could do it for sure. And the problem is I'm about to go to India for a month and eat like, you know, nobody's business and not do a whole lot of rucking. But I think we will visit that spot just to see it because it's dramatic. The Cerros of Mavicure, it's called. And they're basically some of the oldest tepuis, these little flat top mesa mountains. These are some of the westernmost, I guess. And they just rise to, you know, it's flat Amazonia all around. And all of a sudden you've got these hills rising up. It's an incredible place. And sort of a spiritual place, really, for certainly the indigenous folks, but just it is really evocative. And there's some good birding nearby, and some dark water Varzea forests. So it's a really cool place, a great bunch of birds, and a nice taste of Amazonia along with sort of a taste of the Llanos and these white sand specials.
So for those people that don't, if you haven't been to Amazonia, there's this really patchwork of different habitats you can access sometimes in like really short distances. And one of them is Várzea Forest is actually forest that is inundated for part of the year. So it's actually kind of a swamp forest, but when you go birding, it's actually moderately dry there. But it's a different habitat with different birds. Sand forest is like this old, sand deposits that are from way back before the Andes were around, and they have a whole different kind of vegetation and endemic birds there. And there's terra firma forest, which is highland forest, or not highland, but like dry
Higher.
forest that never actually
flood seasonally.
Yeah. And then this dark water. It's like rivers come in dark and pale water rivers, and the dark water is almost like tea, and it's got a whole, again, different set of plants and birds and insects that live in. And you're like, how can this all be in the same place? But the sand forests are actually kind of the rarest, but
yeah,
you can have these different habitats, and to the person's never been there, you always think, oh, it's just like one big forest. Oh no, it's like a mosaic of different types of forest, and that's part of what makes it really cool.
Yeah.
I got to go back to the Amazonian region one day.
There's so many rare things that you could run into that your chances of running into something rare are actually pretty good. So,
hey, it's common to run into rare things.
I wouldn't say that, but yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty. Sounds pretty cool. We got. Well, Molly mentioned Cuba. Cuba got spots open still April 1st to, and it's not April Fool's, but it's a real deal. April to the 12th, and Cuba. We've talked about it before. It's not only a great birding destination, but it's also really interesting culturally, politically, and so forth. And it's your next door neighbor. And we do that trip. It's sanctioned in a sense. We do it all by the book in terms of U.S. policy in Cuba for people visiting the country. And then we've just had enough people in the last few weeks to make Thailand a go as well, which is March 21st to April 5th with Peter Burke. And that is going to be a fantastic trip with local experts also guiding on that trip. And if you want a trip that's got amazing birds and superb food as well as culture, I mean, Thailand is one of those countries. I think it's kind of like India.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
This has just got tons to see. It's visually stunning in so many ways, and then culturally interesting, and the food is part of like, wow.
Yeah, such a big part of the experience there. We talk about food a lot while we're traveling, but like India and Thailand are a couple places where the food is a big, big part of the experience.
Yeah,
really is.
Is that focused in central Thailand? Are you going from
It's
Bangkok?
It's going to be, it's sort of Bangkok area for a bit, then fly to the north. Sort of the northern,
cool.
Go up to Doi and Tanan and the Himalayan birding up there.
That's quite a diversity of habitats as well.
I know. Yeah. Himalayan, as I was told, and corrected many times in India.
Yes.
You say Himalayan. Why do you say
we're
Himalayan?
American. We're allowed to mispronounce stuff,
Yeah. So I'm just going to say Himalayan. Hello, Himalayan.
It sounds like you're saying my name.
That's true.
It's my formal name.
yeah, I know. Well, we should talk about India. I want to talk about.
Yeah, man. I was gonna say you just got back. What did you see? Where did you go? Like,
first of all, two things I'm very upset about. One,
oh boy,
there's no IPA in India.
That's true. That is true.
India Pale Ale, none to be found. Just that Kingfisher beer.
Kingfisher beer and Scotch.
They have like two versions of Kingfisher beer. I could not tell them apart. It's like basically it's a different label and the same.
But isn't one is strong beer, right? It's what they call strong beer.
I don't know. They called it Ultra or something, and I'm like, I'm not seeing the difference here, And then we got some microbrew kind of stuff, with a little monkey on it, and there was another one that's like a bear on it and stuff, and they were weirdly sweet. Like they had like a sweetness to them that was odd.
Okay, I wanted to ask, are you having the beer with dinner or separate? Because like an IPA and Indian food doesn't sound like it mixes to me. So maybe a sweeter beer makes sense.
There can be beer at the checklist time, that kind of thing. And then, then you flow into dinner time and beer or something. So yeah, people tried Indian wine, not recommended. Apparently not the best.
Wow. Just like here it is. The Chilean California guy is just like telling people across the board to not drink Indian wine. I'm sure that's going to go over great. Yeah.
Yeah. On the other hand, I had Old Monk Indian rum. Nice.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah.
That was good. And people, of course, gin and tonics,
Oh yeah.
Lots of gin and tonics.
It's good weather for that.
That's classic. Mm-hmm. Here's the other complaint I have. I brought like 3 shorts, to wear in India. I know it's winter, but it was cold. Like it was freezing cold all the time and foggy. And they were closing schools down. Like, kids couldn't go to school because it was so cold. The locals were like, "We've never seen it so cold here ever." And I'm like, "But I brought my shorts, like I what am I going to do with those?" And we were surprised at how unprepared we were for this level of cold and how unprepared all of India was for this level of cold, because there was no heating anywhere. And it became like an issue, at times. We were just open air Jeeps, right? And you're like, you have blankets all around you and your hat and so forth. The buses don't have heating, because they've just never need it,
So how cold are you talking here? Like,
it was like, there was one day I think we might have had frost on the ground, and lots of mornings where, you could see your breath big time. It was, I think it was like 4 Celsius or something like it. What would that be like in the high 30s?
Yes, like 39 or something like that. 38. Yeah.
And then, even if it's a little warmer and you're in an open air Jeep, tooling around, and fog often for the entire day, which again, they said, "Oh, this is normal in December, but never in January." The weather was all messed up. Yet our guide was like, "Wow, we've had like really, really bad weather. We've had such luck with everything, like finding things in the fog and seeing some really rare birds and cool mammals," that he was like, "You guys are the luckiest people on earth," because we had fog. And then the next day we were going to Taj Mahal, and it cleared up for that one day to go to the Taj Mahal.
God, that would be painful.
And then they got foggy the next day,
That would be painful to go to the Taj and not really be able to see it.
Yeah. So we were super lucky, and we were laughing about the weather at the end.
Wow. You got me kind of freaked out. Yeah. Like I'm leaving Friday, and I'm like, I kind of told some folks, and I'll tell everybody to bring a little more layerage than I expected. Of course, by then it'll be further along and it could be just normal, but we'll see.
It could be normal. But yeah, I wished I'd had long johns, and I don't ever use long johns. Like Japan in winters, it's about, sometimes Patagonia, but man, I could not believe it. It was not expected, and it was really, but the fact that we saw some amazingly cool things, and there's always the chai to warm you up, the nice chai tea.
That's a great midday thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anytime, really.
Anytime.
So what region were you in, and how far were you traveling in this itinerary?
We were in the north, so we started in New Delhi and then kind of went a little further south to the Tiger Reserve, and then went up north towards the base of the Himalayas, Jim Corbett. So it wasn't a huge amount of distance, although it can take a while in Indian Road. So I would say we were never kind of more than 5 hours away from Delhi, either towards the south and towards the north. That's roughly what we did. So we were in the north, which is the coldest place, of course, in the winter. But yeah, and it was I would say, like, for me, first time in India, I knew it was going to be kind of like crazy, the whole driving and the whole complexity of India, but it was insane to some extent. Like we'd be driving at times, and it was almost like a choreographed, some kind of like weird,
like the traffic patterns
show or something. Yeah. Like, where, some tuk-tuk thing would cross in front of you going right, and another one cross left, at the same time.
Yeah.
Like,
and there'll be like a cow or some goats and with, thrown in the mix. Yeah.
And a goat. And then you'd, drive by some adorned parked camels, and you're like, oh, there's some camels there parked there by the side of the road, it's like, and with all this regalia kind of stuff on them, and people walking across or at random times, and everybody's honking the horn all the time, to the point where I thought, like, what's the point of honking the horn? What are you doing?
You know what they say in India, in order to drive, you need three things.
Right.
You need a good driver, a good horn, and good luck.
Yeah, that's right. Good luck. And then the driver, I mean, the guides, local guides, Ansar and his brother Robin, they said, well, it's like you're not actually honking your horn because you're annoyed. You're honking your horn to communicate that you're there.
Yes, exactly. It's like, I'm over here. Don't come any further over here. Yeah.
Right. And then sometimes the horns are just not like horns. They're like, like this like musical horn where you're like, what the heck is that? And then this truck goes by. And there's a point in time where I was just like, I cannot believe this, we are surviving this. And I could try to imagine myself driving there and just getting killed instantly, you have
like a video game where you just die immediately.
Right. Yeah. Do.
Game over.
Game over. And the reason is because they all know kind of how it all works, and you don't.
It is. Right? It's a rhythm. It's a
rhythm. It's like a flow.
Yeah.
And I, you don't see like a ton of accidents. Like here and there are fender bender, but
yeah, just like anywhere else, really.
Yeah. It was really insane in that way. And then you go into the cities or a town, and there's like colors everywhere. Like everything's a different color, and the ads for each shop are like, you're almost like, what's going on here, right? It's just so much to look at. And people dressed with different types of dress depending on their religion, their region, or what have you, where I felt like I need a field guide to the turbans. And in fact, we found one, online,
oh, wow.
What each one of them means for different regions.
You got to share that.
I know.
Yeah.
And it's all of that, where you just cannot understand what diversity means until you go to India.
And history, like, like I feel like, Americans, there's a segment, we have our history, good, bad, whatever. But there's a segment I feel like that like so cherishes these like 200, 300 years. And then like, you're going along in India and you'll be like, what's that huge old thing over there? And they'll be like, yeah, that's from, the 2nd century. And and you're just like, we think we have history here, and we do. And obviously it's a lot richer if you look at the Native American history. But like you go there and it's just like it's pervasive,
Right. And it's also, I think, the Buddhists have this kind of concept. And I think that Hinduism also has something similar, given that they're related religions, and that of impermanence, that things just change, and change is part of life and how things happen. So sometimes like a building is, collapsing like an old ruin or whatever, and there's goats all around it. And then they'll say, oh, that's the ruins of some really important thing. And if it was us, we'd be like, oh, we need to restore this. Get the goats out of there. Like, just, make a park. But they're just like, well, that was what was, and
Yeah.
the goats are there today, and things just kind of like flow. And it's a different perspective in how they view history, of course. Not everybody, and not, and there's some crazy political stuff going on too, that,
Sure.
is going on right now that more complicated than I think I want to get into. But, we were learning about some of that too.
Yeah.
And, the current government and so forth. Yeah, it was pretty interesting.
Molly, you were saying before how like you're fascinated by India, and yet it's like you find it intimidating a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really common. That's a common sentiment when you raise India. I can see it sometimes. People are like, oh, I don't know if I want to go there. And I'm like, I get where you're coming from. I think a lot of the maybe stigma might be too strong a word about travel in India is outdated at this point. Like, sure, you can get sick there while traveling and experience, intestinal stuff, but that can happen pretty much anywhere when you're traveling.
We did not have any of that happen.
Yeah,
and we were all worried about it.
Yeah, it's unusual. Like the places, they're so used to Western tourists now and dealing with Western diets and people that aren't accustomed to, that don't have the same gut flora as they do in India, that it's a pretty well-oiled machine at this point. And it is true that it can be overwhelming, but that's kind of part of the beauty of it, of that country, is that, within minutes, you can see stuff that is stunningly beautiful, horribly grotesque, just a master, an incredible, piece of human architecture and creation, and then just, sad stuff that you see happening. It's everything. And I think a lot of it is there are a lot of people and there's a lot of history, and, that just means that there's a lot happening.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't mean to imply at all that deters me from wanting to go.
Mm-hmm.
It's totally the opposite. Like, I love hearing, Alvaro, you describe what it was like for you just to experience the cultural aspects of it. And I feel like everybody just comes back and has like similar stories of just the overwhelm. That's just so incredibly fascinating to me. And like on a surface level, I hear what you and everyone says, and it makes sense. But also I'm like, I have to experience that. Like, I don't think I can hear a story of what that's like and really get a sense unless I'm there and experiencing it myself. But logistically, that's where I feel like it just seems like a really, I mean, if I were to pick somewhere to go on a birding tour myself, I think I would probably be starting with the places that would be hardest for me to plan. And India, I think, really ranks up high for me.
Yeah. And I think that is key for, for us, like having the right ground agents and operators and stuff, so they really take care of things, and, they give you the information that you need. And, that's absolutely key in everywhere really, but a place like India more so, because if something goes wrong, right. Or if something is, going to potentially disturb what your plan is, you want to have people who know how to get around it or figure it out. Or, I mean, we had to leave a little earlier because of some potential like political, things that may have happened on the 22nd. So, on the 21st, we decided just to leave where we were, skip a morning of birding, and just go because we wanted to get back on time. And we would not have known any of that if we didn't have all the inside scoop, right? So the local guides and ground agents are like, yeah, no, let's get out of here.
Another friend of mine,
friend
of mine that I work with there, he says when it comes to service and logistics, he's like, if something happens that's difficult, he says, difficult? No problem. Impossible? We'll take some time.
No, I think that there's something to that. Like, if you go to, like, I don't know, Argentina and somebody says, no, can't do that. And you're like, come on, let's make it happen. Let's make it happen. They're like, no, can't do it. Can't do it. Just no. India, it's more like, yeah, there's a way. There's some way. There's a way to
just
this.
Have to conjure it, They just have to conjure it.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
Who do you have to know? Who do you have to, whatever it is, there's always a way. And I think that's like somewhat liberating to some extent. When you have somebody on your team that can make things happen if you need it, I the other thing too, like there's some mysteries that I feel like I should have figured this out and I didn't. One of them was like, most food is buffet, right? And you have like this amazing, the colors alone, like,
you
open up all the
meals are beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. You open it up, right? One is green, the other one's orange, the other one's red, the other one's white. And like, whoa, I've never seen so much color in all the curries and the paneers and all this stuff, right? But if it was the US, we would have like the first thing you would have in the line would be the rice, right? You'd have the rice and then like the bread, like the naan or chapatis or whatever. But it was never that. It was always like one of the curries. There was usually at least two of, dishes. Then the dal, which is like the
That's
lentils.
One of my favorite things. Every place has got
and then
the
the rice.
Yeah.
And you're like, why the hell? And so we would all like go to the rice first. Like we'd go in the middle and then go. And I know we were doing it all wrong, but nobody ever explained to us why. And sometimes all of the vegetarian dishes were there. And then the dessert. And you didn't know it was dessert unless you knew what it was, right? You thought it was just another thing to stick on the rice, but so you have to first kind of figure out the situation. And then the meat dishes were after that. And you're like, okay, I figured that out, but there were all these things that you're just like, why does this not? And then the breads are never out, right? Like there's usually like a dude that comes out and gives you the chapati or the naan or whatever, and he comes around the table and hands them out. And first it'll be this one, then it'll be like the butter naan, then it'll be like the garlic. And the reason is that they're making it all from scratch and they want you to have it warm. Like, so you're not just have this bread just sitting there like, and so it's like constantly going around and you're like, ooh, I kind of like this, like having like the naan dude, just always. You
have to be careful what you order sometimes, because sometimes they won't tell you that they can't do it, but they also won't tell you that it might take an extra hour to prepare whatever it is or to procure whatever it is you've asked for, because the service ethic there is so strong that that like you do, like sometimes you'll be like, somebody will be like, can I have this juice? And you want to be like, they offer these 3 kinds. I recommend you go with those ones, because otherwise you could be waiting for that juice for quite a long time. So
and I haven't even talked about the birds and stuff.
I was going to say, you got
Indian cursor.
Yeah, Al, you got to give us, we're an hour in here. We're running down on our time. You got to give us some highlights here about what you saw.
I wanted to see Indian cursor. That was one of the main things I would want to see. I wanted to see the Indian skimmer. There were a few things that were sort of high on my list because of a tree swift. I'd never seen a tree swift in my life, right? So all those were achieved. We also saw a cupwing, which is like a little small family of birds. Yes. Now it's its own family, like the
those are so cool.
Cupwing. It looks like a little
tiny ampida.
Mini ampida. Yeah, kind of little mini brown
Absurdly
ampida.
Absurdly cute.
Yeah. And all of that was just crazy, just those really super specific things I want to see. But the big birds were great, like bar-headed goose, painted storks, the multiple water birds were great. Just seeing just a bunch of winter plumage garganys. I just overjoyed by the fact that like that's a bird I always think, I could one day might find one of these around here.
Yes.
Will I even know what it looks like? And I was like, oh yeah, you will know, because they're just distinctive.
Yeah.
But you don't know until you see the real thing, right? You're just like, oh, wow, it doesn't look like a green winged teal. It doesn't look like a blue winged teal. It looks like that. So I had some real nice kind of training sessions for like almost vagrant finding here. It's similarly with like spotted redshank. I'd only seen a couple of those before in my life, and seeing a bunch of those was great. And getting lots of green and wood sandpipers around.
The Indian skimmer is a cool one. Like there's only 3 depending on your taxonomy, right? I know, Al, you're ready to split one of those South American ones, the freshwater one, right? And I totally am on board with you. But currently there are 3 recognized species of skimmers in the world, and Indian is the most endangered. I think there's maybe 6,000-7,000 or something like that total, and they're increasingly, their range is increasingly restricted. That is a special bird to see. And you visited that Chambal River Sanctuary. That's a pretty cool spot. There's like the diversities. The gharials. You can't. Gharial looks like something you would have seen in a book on prehistoric era, with dinosaurs. If you're not aware of that animal and you don't know it exists, it's worth looking up a gharial. It's hard to believe that thing still is there. And then there's those huge Gangetic soft-shell turtles there as well. And
we saw the river dolphin too.
Yeah, that's special to be able to see that.
Wow.
Yeah, just a little fin, but I mean, that's all you see.
Yeah, right.
Well, it sounds like you were around a lot of water, but there must have been some proper forests too, yeah?
Yeah, dry forest in the south of Delhi, and then more broadleaf forest to the north. It really changes, like totally different habitats. And then in the south, Ranthambore is known for tigers, and you do these like morning and afternoon little safari drives. We went and you wait at a gate, and then they open a gate at a certain time, and you kind of roll in. 5 minutes in, and we saw our first tiger. Like 5 minutes. Couldn't believe it. And the guys were like insane, and we followed it for like 2 hours doing this thing. And then the rest of the time we were there, no more tigers. We were lucky that in the north we found another 2. But
in Corbett,
the guys were like, like, that never happens. That A, you see a tiger that quickly, and B, you see them both in both places, Corbett.
Yeah, that's lucky.
You guys are lucky, Elephants, my life for Asian elephants. So that was.
I saw Ansar with a video of you. I guess he was in the front vehicle. You were in the back video, and you're with like some of the folks in the back vehicle, and there's like this tiger just walking around in front of your vehicle there.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, look at that.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then I spotted a little jungle cat, which in the end is probably harder to see than a tiger. But, it's like, I got a little cat here. And they're like, what? It's like jungle cats.
Small cats.
Yeah.
Man.
Wow.
But
that's quite
the birding was great. Like it was just a lot of things that were relatively easy to see. I do think there's a level of when you're mixing, like trying to find tigers with birding, there's a little frustration there in that, like when you're in these safari vehicles and so forth, they don't really cater to stopping for every bird. And sometimes like you'll hang out, 5, just a short amount of time, then they keep on going. And that there's a element there that's like, that'd be wonderful to sort of have a dedicated birder driver. But you don't, like they're randomized who you get and so forth. I found that was a bit of a frustrating aspect of birding while tigering. I don't know if you've thought the same thing in the past, George.
We go to different spots and we have small. I think in Ranthambore you're probably using those Canter trucks.
Yeah.
We use the smaller the Jeeps, and
we use Jeeps in Corbett.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we've got it. So we do, because I had that experience before in Ranthambore, and I'm not sure there's much you can do about it there. But yeah, we have a little more influence, I think, on the drivers, which is good. Yeah.
Yeah. No, there was yeah, real. Yeah, I thought that would have been something that sort of, if you could have, like, so many places we have our dedicated drivers, who've been birding essentially for years, and they know exactly what to do.
Yeah.
And it seems impossible in much of India because of the systems in which the parks, how they function. Like you just get a driver, assigned to you, and it might be that one for that one morning. The afternoon, it'll be a different vehicle, different driver. So you don't have a rapport you build up with them, and you have
Right.
a local guide who is there a local guide as well as a more regional guide as well as a park guide, and still. I think sometimes you just gotta be like, stop. We want to
It's
still take pictures of this little brown thing,
right. I've definitely
bear
had
with
trouble
us.
breaking through
Yeah.
that mentality. And if you'll allow me one more quote on India, it's that they say in India they took 3 things from the British and improved on them. One was cricket, the game of cricket. The
Yeah.
other is the train system. And then the third is bureaucracy.
Yeah. Bureaucracy. Oh my God. I got to say that the leaving India, the airport was, I would say, about the worst airport experience I've ever had.
You should try Israel sometime.
I've done that one. That wasn't that bad.
Oh my God. I
This
barely made my
was-
flight.
This sounds like
This
a
is
Patreon
crazy.
story here.
Yeah,
there you go.
This
Folks
was
want to hear
crazy.
this.
Anyway, and it was all sort of like, you do not need to do this. You do not need to do this.
Mhm.
But I would, yeah. And there was even like changing money. I was like, I had some rupees, and I was like, oh, I want to change these back to dollars. And she's like, okay, but we can up to $100. That's it. Okay. All right. So I had like $25 worth left of rupees. So I went to the other exchange place, like across the way at the airport. And he goes, nope, can't exchange it because we only exchange $100. And I was like, okay, you exchange only up to 100 and you only exchange 100. I was like, how does this work? And they're like, nope, we don't want your money. So then I went inside, and they all said, you got to go inside. And inside there's Thomas Cook, and they will exchange this amount of money. And I'm like, okay. Went to the Thomas Cook guy, and he said, I would, but I don't have the right amount of US bills. And I was like, okay. So I ended up exchanging, in Qatar on my way home. I was just like, okay, that did not need to be that complicated. I don't know. But there you go. Some of the things that you get left. Beautiful things and not so beautiful things about India.
That's
as
why we
with
travel.
Any place.
Yeah, exactly. That's why you travel for those, for
to be challenged.
That spectrum. Molly, before we scoot, I saw you using those. You do have compact binoculars.
Oh yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
They sit around. These are the nice Kowa ones. So here's my thoughts on compact binoculars, because I had cheap ones, and then I got these Kowa Genesis. It's like their top line, but they're 8x22s. They are so nice to have. So I was just looking. I think I just got my high count of cardinals. I just counted 21 cardinals here.
Good Lord.
I don't usually get a lot of cardinals.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
That's a whole
my
Vatican
feeders
of
have
cardinals.
been. Yeah. You see the pictures of like a bush full of cardinals sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've never seen that, but I just did. But like the quality matters more when the optics get smaller, like if you have bigger binoculars that are literally letting in more light, then you can get away with a little more. But after having nice compact binoculars that can actually do well, I would never go back. I've used these a ton. I've been running a lot lately too, and they're like small enough that I can just have them in my pocket while I'm running, and I run along the river, so it's always nice to pick stuff up while I'm doing that. But yep, good compacts. A lot of cardinals.
Cool. All right, guys. So on that note, I'm going to get some stuff together to put in a backpack, and I'm going to go running with that just to train.
There you go. Yeah.
And then with my little compact binoculars.
Perfect.
Anyway, great
like
to
it.
talk to you guys again. It seems like it's been a while since it's all three of us. Maybe it's just I've been traveling, but it's fun. So goodbye, everybody. See you next time.
Cheers,
Bye,
all.
everyone.